to Real Life Marketing. This is Sarah Kazire. I'm here with Barry Kazire again. So today we're going to talk about creative. What does that even mean? What does that consist of?
Well, being a creative agency is pretty interesting. I mean, you hear about creative agencies all the time, right? And they create these really creative things that are so creative, right? And then they say the word creative a lot. Now, here's the thing. Creative's great as long as it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a couple of my favorite authors, Reese and Trout. They wrote a couple different books that you could read. The Positioning Area, Marketing Warfare. Actually, Al Reese wrote a book called Focus that's very good, and a couple other books with his daughter. So his daughter, father-daughter.
Hey, that's fun.
Yeah, that's kind of fun fact. One of the things they talk about in their books is they talk about, kind of scoff a little bit at creative agencies. It is good to be creative. It is good to have good creative imagery, come up with great design, things like that. But here's the thing, the design has to communicate and it has to get a result. So if you got this great award for a advertising campaign, that's great. You charge the guy $10,000 for an advertising campaign, look, we got these creative awards, aren't we wonderful, right? But how many leads and how much business did you get that company? So creative's wonderful, but the biggest thing about creative is, does it communicate in such a way as to get leads? So as a creative marketing agency, what we're interested in is results at the end of the day, not the awards that we actually win.
That totally makes sense. And I know when I'm looking at designs that we're doing for clients, you don't always have to reinvent the wheel and be totally brand new. If you had a postcard that worked and you use that over and over and over again, if it's still getting you leads, you don't have to change it up a ton, you know? You might change it for the season, or you might be like, okay, let's change it a tiny bit and see if we can get more,
Yeah, I've seen some ugly postcards do really great, by the way. Not creative.
No.
Yeah, not creative. But they got great results, though. I mean, so it's like, creative's not always the way to go. Results are the way to go. You don't want to destroy your image with an ugly postcard, right, that destroys your image. But at the same time, you can overthink creative and underthink getting an actual lead in the door.
That makes sense. And depending on your industry, obviously there's going to be a certain way. Like if you're in construction, like they don't expect you to have this like amazing, very unique, like art looking postcard. No, if you're like, hey, look, here's this cool picture of a deck, we can build you one. Like that is as simple as it needs to be. It doesn't have to be this crazy over the top thing,
That's right. I mean, it should be a decent photo. You should learn how to take decent photos, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You carry a camera around with you all the time. You should be able to take some photos. Think about the lighting, things like that. Maybe even hire somebody like us to do these type of things for you. But it doesn't have to be a $10,000 photo shoot, things like that. You might be good enough to take photos with your own phone, or hire somebody for a lot less who can do a great job of putting together some very creative photography that can result in some dollars, which is what you need that creative to do.
Right. I was talking to someone and they paid, I think they paid like $2,500 for a business card design. And I was like, oh. What? Like, it's this big of a thing. Like, that's not necessary.
No.
Like, and I don't care how creative you are, like, unless you spend, like, anyways, you'd have to spend a ridiculous amount of hours and do a ridiculous amount of concepts, and that's not really necessary. How much business is that business card gonna get you, really? Like, opposed to spending that on other things like Facebook ads or something like that.
On the other end of it, you might spend a lot in creative. Here's an example. Here's a good story and example. We had somebody who spent a lot of money, thousands of dollars, for us to research and figure out how to help him come up with a great book cover for his book. And we did that. We came up with a great book cover. The surveys is what cost the money. The money was the surveys, and then the book cover was a small portion of it. And then we surveyed the book covers and figured out which book cover was the best book cover based on that market research. that was the thing that actually made a difference.
And that makes sense. And if you can get that sort of result and stuff, that totally makes sense. Didn't he end up getting into Barnes and Noble as a result?
As a result, he ended Barnes and Noble. But what was important about the creative is that the people liked it, and it gave the message they were communicating back to them. Yeah.
That totally makes sense. Awesome. Well, thank you for talking to us all about creative.
No problem.
All right, check us out next time for some more real life marketing.
Thanks.